Hi, this is Clay Green with Picture Window Software, and this is lesson 3 in our TeleConnect series, and this is going to cover advanced call handling. We've already looked at basic call handling, answering, putting a call on hold, returning to the call, transferring a call to an employee, transferring a call to voicemail, and guided versus blind transfers. That was in lesson 2. Lesson 1 was just a basic introduction. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at 3 or 4 additional features that you may or may not use. We're referring to them advanced call handling, but depending on your environment, this might be just an everyday thing that you need to do. And the first feature we're going to look at is the call park feature. If you work in a hospital environment, call park is something you probably use every day. It allows you to take a call for someone who may not have a desk or is seldom at their desk, but they're somewhere in the facility. You just don't know where they're at. And it allows you to take a call, temporarily park that into a parking lot, and when it's parked, that call is given an ID number. It's given, you could think of it as an extension number, but it's just temporarily available while the call's parked. And it allows you to announce the call over your overhead pagers for the person that call's for, and you let them know the number it's temporarily parked against so they can retrieve it from any phone. Now, the actual procedure to retrieve the call may be different based on your phone system. In some phone systems, special blocks of numbers are set up called system call park numbers. And if there's a call parked, let's just say against extension 6010, you could go to any phone, go off hook, dial 6010, 6010, and you will have that parked call. It'll basically put that parked call on that phone right then and there. In other phone systems, you are going to need to dial a prefix first. And I'm just going to throw one out there as just a made-up example, *6. You might need to dial *6 first, then the park extension number, or park DN. If you hear me refer to DN in any of these lessons, it's a standard term. It's used in a lot of different phone systems to just mean extension number. It really stands for directory number, DN. So just think of it as an extension. All right, so let's take a look at call park. I want to run a call into the system. Here's our call. I'm going to answer it by clicking the loop key. The person wants, and we're going to use Ken Tapp as an example again, Dr. Tapp in this environment, assuming that this is a hospital and I need to get in touch with this doctor. It's a patient who's got a question on a complication. So it's important, and I need to get Dr. Tapp on the phone with that patient. So the first step is to park the call. I'm going to let that caller know I'm going to try to reach Dr. Tapp. I park the call. The system comes up with a dialog box. It shows you a park number, and this is important. You need to take note of this because this is what you're going to have to let Dr. Tapp know when you overhead page. For example, Dr. Tapp, please pick up the parked call on 6010. You also are allowed, optionally, to type in a little reminder in here, call for Dr. Tapp. Then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Notice the call, it did a little something there. It was actually dialing that park number to park the call automatically for me. That call is now in the parking lot, and I can see that by clicking up here. This will bring up my parking lot. The next step is I'm going to go to page, click it, call and announce, Dr. Tapp, please pick up the parked call on 6010. Now, what happens if Dr. Tapp doesn't pick that call up fast enough? Well, we shouldn't have to wait too long. We'll find out. If Dr. Tapp doesn't go to a phone, dial the prefix and whatever the sequence is for the phone system you're on, 6010 or *6 6010, the call will recall back to you. Now, I've got my system set very low. 30 seconds, I believe, is what I'm set for. If that call is not picked up by someone within 30 seconds, it's going to come back to me on my board. And you really don't have to wait very long for that to happen. Here it is. So this is my parked call coming back. I can now pick up that call and apologize. I'm sorry. I can try again. Or if you want, I can offer you voicemail. Let's just assume that the person wants to be parked again and have me try to page Dr. Tap one more time. So I'm going to park the call again. It's going to use the same number because that number's been freed up when that call recalls back to me. I'm going to click OK. Notice I didn't bother with the comment this time. I just left it at the default. I page again. Now, at some point, maybe I see Dr. Tap walk by in his scrubs going to surgery. I know that that person, is not going to get Dr. Tap then. So what I can do is I can actually go back and manually retrieve this call without waiting for it to recall back to me. And that's what I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to click on this little button that says 6010. I'm going to pull that call back. And I don't know if you noticed, but for an instant it said retrieved. That means I've retrieved the call manually. It comes out of the parking lot when I do that. I can now say to the caller, I'm sorry, Dr. Tap just went into surgery just this minute. Can I offer you voicemail? If the caller says yes, you simply want to pull up Dr. Tap, so Dr. Tap is showing up as the selected person, then click Transfer to Voicemail. I can now hear the announcement for Dr. Tap's voicemail. I'm going to hit release to connect that caller to Dr. Tap's voicemail. And you're done with the call. You're ready for another call. All right, so that's call park. One of the other things that you may need to do is conference. Now, conference for the console, the feature, it depends on the phone system you're on. As with everything, the features are implemented differently. One of the restrictions on the phone system that I'm currently using, the Cisco system, is that if I initiate a conference from my console, you can't release that. If you release that conference, it releases everyone. So the only time I want to use this feature is if I can stay on the call. All right. So we're going to go ahead and show you how that might be done. And I'm going to start first by bringing a call in. All right. And I can either make a call. Let's say they need me to conference them in with Ken Tap or Dr. Tap again. And I know that Dr. Tap's at his desk. I can type TAPP. See Dr. Tap there, hit enter. Okay, oops, excuse me, I'm set up for blind transfer right now, so I goofed that one up. Let's go ahead and let's release that. And we're going to do that one more time. Redial. And what I did was I went and did a normal transfer. If I want to do a conference, what I'm going to have to do is put this call on hold, originate another call to Dr. Tap. Dr. Tap picks up. Can you join me in a conference call with one of your patients? Yes, I can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the patient. I'm going to go conference, and it'll ask me which of the loop keys that I have calls on that I'd like to conference together. I want to conference Ken Tap, who's on loop key 1, with the caller on loop 0. So I just go ahead and click OK. And all three of us are now in that call. And I can continue this process. I can bring a fourth person into the call. I'm going to hit hold. And I've got extension 1013 is another extension in my phone system. I'm going to call that person. I just answered it manually. It's right next to me here in the lab. I'm going to now bring the person from extension 1013 into our conference call by adding loop 0's call in with my current call on loop 1, and now all four of us are together. And I can see that visually with the conference tab. Here, I'm one party in the call. The person who originally called in, Ken Tap on 1012, and the person on extension 1013 are all on this conference call. I can release any one of these parties separately from the others using this conference control. For example, if Ken Tap decides he needs to drop out, if I were to hear, sometimes when it's somebody calling from the outside, you hear a busy signal for a while before it drops off, I can release that one person and keep the other two parties on the call with me at any time. I could drop this party off the call. And now it's me and 1013 on the call. And then finally, I can just hit release and drop all of us off the call. There's no one left if I hang up from that last person. So you won't use that a lot. Conference is better set up from an individual's phone, but occasionally you may have the case where you need to create a conference with yourself and two other parties. All right. One of the other things that I'd like to show you is the tones key that's right above on the key strip 1. The tones key is used if you are connecting to automated attendant or voicemail systems where you need to generate tones. And everyone's familiar with your home phone. When you hit the buttons on it, you hear beep, 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 beep. That's my impression of a touch tone, or DTMF tone. Those tones are used to signal the phone system or a voicemail system as to what you want to do. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3. How is 1 interpreted by the system at the far end? A tone is sent. Now, with most digital phone systems or voice over IP phone systems, you're not generating tones by default. But for those cases when you need to, we've got a feature key for you to do it. And I'm going to try and set this up so you can hear it. Let me put Ken Tap's handset on hook. I'm going to call Ken Tap. All right. I'm going to pick up the line, and there's actually a speakerphone feature, so I'm hearing a little echo. I don't know what you hear, but I'm going to click tones. I'm going to click K to bring up a keypad, and hopefully you can hear that. Turn the volume up. Getting definitely echo. It's up too loud. Okay, so we're generating tones. I just wanted to demonstrate that. All right, so I'm going to close this key, K for keypad. I'm going to take that phone off hook because the echo is driving me crazy. I don't know how you feel about it. And then take it off of tones. Now make sure that you get rid of the tones prior to setting up your next call. Otherwise, it's going to stay in tones mode. All right? So automated attendance where you need to generate tones. If any of you are still using alphanumeric paging, that required touch tones. If you call the IRS at tax time to get through their automated attendant, you'll need to generate tones. So that's what that's there for. Okay, and K stands for keypad. Whenever you need a manual keypad, you click on K. Now, if I didn't hit the tones key, it's going to actually think that you want to dial. All right, so if you see numbers showing up here, you're not in tones mode. It thinks that you want to dial a number. So by hitting the tones button, it will start generating touch tones instead of putting numbers here in the dial pad, in the dial list. All right, let me hit close on that, come out of tones mode. One other thing I want to cover in this lesson is the fast calls tab. We talked about the numbers tab, which is a way when you click numbers over here, whoever's currently selected up here at the top of the screen, let me pick Gary Adams 1013. If I double click this, it actually places a call to that number. But we didn't talk about fast calls. Fast call is like a speed call list that's set up by name. Now, to program new entries in this list, you actually have to go into the Tools options screen. There is a Fast Calls tab, and that's where these are defined. And to create a new fast call, it's very simple. You just do add entry. Let me put in, let's just pretend that we didn't have Ken Tap in our directory, and we have to call Ken Tap a lot. I could set up an entry for Ken Tap in here. Okay, apply that, and you'll see it show up on the list. There he is. You may also want to set up people in here who you do have in your database, but who you call frequently. Accounting, payroll, security. There's probably an entry in my database for someone in accounting or someone in payroll, but I call them so frequently, I've put them in like a speed call number so that I can get to them quickly. And if you ever need to call them, you just, this is the default tab. You would click on fast call, double click on the person you want, and it's going to call that person. All right. Or if you have a call on the line, let's run a new call in. Okay, I've got a call on my line. I want to transfer this call to Ken Tap. I can, double click that, and it's now transferring that call to Ken Tap. Ken, can you pick up? Can you answer this call? I've got a call for John Smith. for you? Yes, I can. Hit release, and Ken is connected. All right, so police, fire, the deli that you order bagels from in the morning, us. If you have technical support issues, you can call Picture Window Software by double-clicking. Those are all in fast calls. So you can create a list here, and you can even prioritize that list. As that list gets long, you want to keep your most commonly called numbers at the top. So as you can see here, if security was way down here at the bottom, you've got arrows. I can move security right up next to police. Apply that, and you will see it reorder that list on the main screen. Okay, very good. And you can also blind transfer. You can set up blind transfers from there. All right, so I believe that takes care of the advanced features that we want to talk about. One other thing we really haven't gone into, and that is this little, what we call the business card area here. This changes as I select or as I search through the list. Whoever is highlighted, whether I click it manually or whether I go through and I do a search, this business card area changes to display several fields that are customizable using tools options again. We're going to have a whole lesson on tools options, but there is a screen that you can go into to customize what shows up when this business card area, when you change the selection and you search for someone new, or you simply double click on them from the screen. It's going to display that person's name, the department they work for, the location field or city field, the email address of that person, and the extension number. And there are some other choices if you go in and customize this. One of the things you may have noticed in the other lessons is the extension number of the person who's currently selected will sometimes be in red. That tells me that that person's busy. If I go over to Ken Tapp's line right now, I can see there's a call on it. I'm going to hang that call up. And in real time, you'll see that go back to, is it blue or black? It looks like maybe blue right now. If I go off hook on Ken Tapp's phone in my lab, you'll see that immediately goes red. If I call Ken Tapp's phone from one of my other phones and Ken answers, you'll also see that go red in real time. So that is a real advantage for you when you are doing a search. When a call comes in for someone, I'm going to run a new call in, and you go over and you do a search. When you found that person, take a look at what the color of their extension is before you transfer. If it's already busy, and if that's maybe it's an upper management person who is given explicit instructions that you should transfer all calls to voicemail if I'm busy, you know to offer the caller voicemail rather than ring that person's extension. So you could just go down here and do transfer to voicemail. The call goes into their mailbox, hit release, and you're done with that call. So that's a very nice feature. One of the other things in here, I'm going to go back to, let's just go into Ken Tapp again. Ken Tapp, the email address is a hyperlink. If you click it, it will launch your email, your default email system, and it will put in that person's address for you automatically. The rest of it's up to you. But that, if you had thousands of employees, that's going to save you a lot of time and effort. All right, so that concludes, I'm going to go ahead and hang up Ken Tapp's line. That concludes Lesson 3, Advanced Call Handling. Thank you. In a future lesson, we're going to go into the tools options. It's going to be an advanced configuration lesson that goes through all of the features and all of the options available to you with TeleConnect. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you again.